Have you ever felt like everything around you was growing, except you? Like no matter how hard you tried, life just stopped blooming. We plant dreams, but when they don't grow fast enough, we walk away. We call it failure, but sometimes the seed is just taking its time. Growth doesn't happen in sunlight alone. It happens in the storms, the waiting, the quiet. Because every seed you plant, every small effort you make, is a promise that one day, something beautiful will rise again. This is the story of a boy who lost everything, until an old gardener taught him the meaning of patience, hope, and second chances. Once, that garden was full of color, bright marigolds, tall sunflowers, and a boy named Liam Carter who believed the world was his to grow. He'd spend hours beside his mother, planting seeds, his hands dirty but his heart full. Every seed has a story, she used to say, smiling. You just have to give it time. But time, that's what life took from him. The day his mother passed away, the house fell silent. The radio stopped playing. The laughter that once floated through the kitchen was gone. Liam was only 16, but grief made him feel centuries older. He tried to keep the garden alive, but every flower he touched withered. The soil dried, and so did his will. He stopped showing up to school, stopped calling friends, stopped caring. Days blurred into nights, nights into numbness. Neighbors whispered about the boy who lost his mother, the one who once smiled at every sunrise but now barely opened his curtains. One evening, while sitting on the old porch steps, he looked at the empty patch of earth where his mother's favorite roses used to bloom. He whispered, "I guess some things just aren't meant to grow again." And as the wind brushed past, carrying dust and memories, it felt like even nature had given up on him. Weeks passed. The garden became a graveyard of what once was. The watering can rusted, the soil cracked, and hope, the one thing his mother always taught him to protect, seemed gone for good. Until one morning, an elderly man appeared next door, gray-haired, calm eyes, moving slowly as he unpacked pots and seeds from the back of an old pickup truck. Liam barely noticed him at first, but that stranger would soon change everything. He would teach Liam that the soil wasn't dead, it was just waiting for someone brave enough to plant again. For the first time in months, Liam heard something other than silence, the rhythmic scrape of metal against soil. The new neighbor was in his yard, digging, planting, watering. Every motion was slow, deliberate, like he was talking to the earth itself. Liam watched from his window, annoyed at first. "Who still plants flowers these days?" he muttered under his breath. But the old man didn't just plant. He listened. He'd kneel down, press his ear to the soil, and whisper things Liam couldn't quite hear. Days passed. The man kept working, rain or shine. And slowly, color began returning to the space next door. Green sprouts pushing through brown earth, the faint perfume of daisies carried by the breeze. One evening, as Liam tossed another untouched dinner plate into the sink, he heard a soft knock at the door. He opened it to find the old man holding a small clay pot. Inside it, a tiny seedling struggled to stand. "Thought your garden might miss the company," the man said, his voice gentle but firm. Liam frowned. "It's dead out there." The old man smiled. "Then maybe it's waiting for someone to prove it wrong." He set the pot on the porch railing and walked away without another word. That night, Liam couldn't sleep. He kept glancing at the little plant on the porch, the way it trembled in the wind, yet refused to fall. The next morning, something strange happened. For the first time in months, Liam stepped outside before noon. He crouched beside the plant, running his fingers over its fragile leaves. The soil was dry. He fetched the old watering can from under the porch, rusted, dented, but still holding just enough purpose. He filled it with water and poured carefully, watching the dirt darken, watching life, even if small, return to his mother's forgotten garden. And somewhere deep inside, a flicker, faint but real, stirred again. The next morning, Liam found the old man kneeling by the fence, pruning a rose bush with quiet care. "You watered it," the man said without looking up. Liam hesitated. "Yeah, didn't think it would make a difference." The old man smiled faintly. "Everything living needs a little faith first, water second." He motioned for Liam to join him. Reluctantly, Liam stepped closer, crouching in the dirt. It felt strange. His hands hadn't touched the earth since his mother's funeral. She had loved gardening. She used to say that flowers were proof that broken things could still bloom. As the hours passed, Liam listened. The old man spoke about roots and sunlight, but it wasn't really about plants. When something breaks, he said, pressing a seed into the soil, you don't throw it away. You tend to it. You wait. You learn what it needs. Liam stared at the ground, the words echoing somewhere deep in his chest. Every day after that, he joined the old man. They worked in silence mostly, pulling weeds, planting new life where decay had settled. It wasn't just the garden changing anymore, it was him. For the first time in years, Liam started waking up early. He began eating breakfast on the porch, where sunlight fell across the table like a quiet invitation. The house didn't feel so heavy. One afternoon, the old man paused mid-conversation, his hands trembling slightly as he rested them on his knees. "Are you okay?" Liam asked. The man smiled softly, his gaze distant. "Just tired. Been tending too many gardens for too long." Liam didn't understand what he meant, not yet. But that night, as he looked out at the patch of green they'd revived together, he realized something. The garden wasn't the only thing the old man had been trying to heal. He'd been teaching Liam to grow again, from the inside out. By late autumn, the garden had become something sacred. Roses bloomed beside the fence, sunflowers tilted toward the morning light, and laughter, quiet, genuine laughter, had returned to Liam's house. Every morning, he'd see the old man already working, a mug of tea balanced on the fence post, humming softly to the flowers like they were old friends. It was peaceful, predictable, healing, until the night the storm came. The first crack of thunder shook the window pane. Liam jumped from bed and looked outside. The wind was tearing through the garden, bending the sunflowers, tossing petals like confetti into the dark. And there, through the sheets of rain, he saw the old man, out there, trying to tie down a tarp over the vegetable bed. "Mr. Harris," Liam shouted, running out into the storm. Rain slapped against his face, cold and sharp. The mud sucked at his shoes as he fought toward the fence. "You shouldn't be out here," he yelled over the roar of the wind. The old man just smiled weakly, his hands shaking as he tried to secure the rope. "Can't let it all wash away now, can we?" Liam grabbed the tarp, holding it down with both arms as the wind howled around them. For a moment, they stood together, soaked, trembling, fighting against the chaos. Then a sudden gust ripped through, and the old man stumbled. "Mr. Harris." Liam caught him, pulling him back toward the porch. The older man's breaths came fast and shallow. By the time they reached the house, his lips were pale. Liam wrapped him in a blanket, panic clawing at his chest. "You need to rest, okay? I'll call someone." The old man smiled faintly, gripping Liam's wrist. "Don't worry about me, son. Just save the garden." But by morning, the storm had passed, and the garden was ruined. The soil was drowned, flowers torn apart, stems broken. The air smelled of wet earth and endings. And Mr. Harris was gone. He passed quietly in the night. No warning, no goodbye. Liam stood in the doorway of the empty house next door, numb. The garden between them. Their garden lay shattered, just like the day he'd first seen it. But this time, something inside him refused to give up. He walked into the mud, knelt down, and began picking up the fallen petals one by one. "You said not to let it wash away," he whispered, voice trembling. "So I won't." Days passed in silence. The chair on Mr. Harris's porch sat empty, a mug still resting beside it, half full of rainwater. The garden they'd built together, once full of color and laughter, was nothing but broken stems and muddy footprints. But Liam couldn't stay away. Every morning before work, he'd walk out there with a shovel and a small notebook, the one the old man used to carry. Inside were notes written in careful handwriting. "Sunflowers need hope. Roses need patience. People need both." Those words became his prayer. He began again, alone this time, but never really alone. He planted new seeds in the same soil they'd once tended together. Each seed felt like a promise. Each bloom that returned felt like forgiveness. Neighbors noticed. The woman who once avoided eye contact now waved from her porch. A boy from down the street came to help him water the plants after school. Slowly, quietly, the garden grew, and so did Liam. By spring, it wasn't just a garden anymore. It was a place where people came to talk, to breathe, to remember. Someone brought a bench. Someone else painted a sign that read, "Harris Garden, where things grow back." One evening, Liam sat beneath the old oak tree, the sunset painting the sky gold and violet. He closed his eyes and swore he could still hear Mr. Harris's voice. Low, steady, kind. You did good, son. A tear slipped down his cheek, but this time it wasn't from pain. It was peace. He smiled, whispering, You saved me, old man. Sometimes, the people who come into our lives don't stay forever. But if we're lucky, they leave something behind, something that grows long after they're gone. Years later, the town of Maplewood was no longer the same sleepy place it once was. The garden had become its quiet heart. Every child knew the story of the old man who taught someone how to live again. And every person who entered the garden left a little lighter, a little braver. Liam now ran a small workshop at the local school, teaching kids how to plant seeds, not just in soil, but in life. He'd begin every class with the same words Mr. Harris once told him. Growth doesn't happen when life is easy. It happens when you care enough to begin again. Sometimes, after the lessons ended and the laughter faded, he'd stand alone in the garden. His hands rough from years of work, his heart steady. The pain that once broke him had become the soil from which everything beautiful grew. One afternoon, as he was watering the roses, a young girl approached him shyly, holding a wilted flower in her hand. Can you fix it? She asked. Liam smiled softly and knelt beside her. We can't fix what's gone, he said gently, but we can help something new grow in its place. Together, they planted a new flower beside the old one. That night, he placed Mr. Harris's notebook on the bench beneath the oak tree and wrote one last line at the bottom of the final page. The garden never belonged to us. It belonged to every soul that needed a second chance. As the wind rustled through the leaves, a single sunflower tilted toward the fading sun, as if nodding in approval. Maybe life isn't about avoiding pain. Maybe it's about learning how to plant something beautiful in the middle of it. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Share it, because somewhere, someone is still standing in their storm, waiting for a seed of hope. Like, share, and subscribe, and be part of a community that believes in second chances and silent heroes.